By invocation by the Vice Chair. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This morning I ask that you all join me in reciting the Lord's Prayer if you would like. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Thank you. Chair comments this morning was one of the privileges of sitting in these chairs is to thank the people who appeared and are on our vouchers for jury duty, to all the citizens of Finney County who answered the summons and participated in our judicial system, I say thanks. Today we will begin then with the consent agenda, Commissioners.
I'll move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This morning we have the opportunity for public comment. Madam Clerk, is there anyone who wishes to address the board?
Yes, sir. Mr. Drew Terrell from Bruckner's.
Well, we'll hear from them, and generally public comment is limited to 5 minutes. We may go a little longer. Sir, good morning. Please introduce yourself for the viewing public.
Hi, I'm Drew Terrell. I'm the construction project manager for Bruckner's Truck and Equipment from Amarillo. I'm a construction guy, so I don't do this normally. Please bear with me. Excuse me. So Chris Bruckner asked me to come today. Unfortunately, he had a commitment that he couldn't be here personally. But we just want to take an opportunity to speak with you and converse with you directly about the plans that you're considering out in Northwest Development. So let me first say that I want to start by assuring you that we all want the same things. We want our customers and our employees and our neighbors to be able to go in and out of the area, safely and conveniently. We want the area to grow and prosper. And ultimately we want, as any property owners would, we want our property to grow in value and be successful and that kind of thing. And we believe that there's a solution for every problem, and unfortunately we just haven't landed on the right one yet. So I wanted to try to take an opportunity to help you all directly understand exactly what our concerns are. And in a way of doing that, I have an analogy that Keith actually came up with that I think is perfect. But first, I'd like to kind of tell you what our concerns are not. We have no problem with the rerouting of solar more onto our property. We really have no problem with solar becoming a one-way. Where the root of our primary concern is the building of an additional exit out on Acker Way that would be the exit for our traffic. And here's the reason why that's a concern for us. So our facility was built and designed to work exactly like a county yard. So in a county yard, you have a place where the public can come and they're welcome and they can drive in, drive out, do what they want. But then there's a fence, and only certain people get to go behind this fence, only certain types of equipment get to go behind the fence, et cetera, et cetera. And our facility is designed that way for the exact same reasons that a county yard is designed that way. Primary issue is safety. We have lots of trucks backing in, backing out, moving around. We mix that with other cars, and we know from 100 years of experience that that's not a good idea. We have some security concerns as well. Lots of valuable stuff behind that fence. A lot of it belongs to our customers, so we need to make sure that we keep that as safe and secure as we can. And then, The other sort of final thing that, and I think we have a handout that, if you look here, if you're not exactly familiar with how our facility is laid out, if you look here on the page, southeast corner, where the building sort of juts down, that area there and where the proposed driveway comes in, that area is our warehouse. And so on the end of that building is our overhead door where shipping and receiving occurs. So frequently, there is a semi-truck backed up to that door that takes up a lot of that space. And so there's simply just not enough room. If we're trying to route all of our exiting traffic through there, we have one truck there and it becomes a roadblock. And so, you know, and then, you know, there's just no way to rejigger the fences. We have no windows or staffing or personnel on that side of the building. You know, the whole building is designed to be serviced from the other side. So there's no visibility or any of those kinds of things. So making that our only exit would become a significant operational struggle for us. So what can we do about it? And if I had the perfect answer for that, that would make this job a lot easier, I tell you. And unfortunately, I don't. We've gone back and forth with the team. We've thrown out lots of different ideas, and you know, all of them have been met by some objection or another. And frankly, it's hard to tell, you know, what I mean. You know, KDOT is KDOT. We know that they're hard to deal with. We deal with them lots of other places. We get it, but we don't know how much consideration some of the other ideas have given. As I went out there again this morning, and as I looked at this, the one thing that keeps coming back to me is that this development really hasn't had a good grid system put in place. Other places that we build buildings, you know, we go in, there's already, if not already streets, there's already plans for, you know, streets that will create this grid. And as you can see from the plans that you're doing, actually, I just realized that when I put this up here, I had it upside down. So when I said plan south, it's the yellow triangle area. How about that? At any rate, this area that extends down and beyond TA, and then the border coming up between TA and the RV park seemed to be the lack of grid in the overall plan. And so I'm hoping that there's a way that either in this portion of the plan or maybe in a future phase that we could plan to build that grid out. We have lots of locations that are on one-way right-of-ways, sitting off of interstates, that kind of thing. So having our traffic exit, make the block, and then exit the development, very common thing. Lots of different places do that. So I'm hoping there's a way that we can lean on your leadership and your guidance to help us see where maybe some of these objections could be dealt with. And again, I think it's either in this phase or a future phase, because we're all planning for what could happen, what we think is going to happen. And I think we all think the same thing is going to happen. We just don't know when, and we don't know how much. And I think we could use that to our advantage in this case to say, okay, we know this is coming, but it's not here today, and it may be a few months or it may be a few years. And if we open ourselves to the possibility that there could be a way to finish this grid out as if it were designed that way, then perhaps we can land on something that works for everybody. So that's what.
Your
That's what I came to say. Thank you.
No, you're 3 minutes over time, and I'll give you a couple minutes to wrap it up.
I literally, that's all I had to say. Is there any questions or anything that I can answer for you all?
I think what we're doing is public comment, and generally the commission doesn't engage in discussion. We'll encourage you and the staff, as well as your engineers and ours, to continue to work on a solution, and appreciate your time and concern. And I would like to say publicly, congratulations on your new business in Salina.
We're getting closer. We should open in October, I think, 1st of October. Thank you very much.
Is there any other public comment? All right, we'll close public comment and go to our business agenda. And first on the agenda is to hear from Josh Urtiaga, budget analyst with the police department. Josh.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. For the governing body is asked to consider signing the interlocal agreement between the City of Garden City and Finney County from the Department of Justice Bureau of Justice Assistance Grant to close out a 2021 grant. The grant was awarded and accepted in May of 2023 for the purpose of emergency communications equipment upgrades in the amount of $13,964. This 2021 grant requires an interlocal agreement signed between the City of Garden City and Finney County. In this agreement, the county agrees to allow City of Garden City to retain the county's share of $6,982. The interlocal agreement must be signed by both parties to complete this award. If this agreement is not signed, award funds will not be received. Alternatives are the governing body may approve the interlocal agreement and authorize the chairman to sign the agreement as presented. Second alternative is the governing body may deny the interlocal agreement as presented, and the recommendation is to approve the interlocal agreement as presented and authorize the chairman to sign the presented letter.
Questions, commissioners? Madam Counselor, have you reviewed the interlocal agreement that's proposed for signature?
I haven't. As to form, it's fine.
Very good. Any other questions? Then is there a motion to approve alternative number one?
Mr. Commissioner, I'll make the motion to approve the interlocal agreement, authorize the chairman to sign the agreement as presented.
Thank you, and I'll second that motion.
Very good. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'll sign that one. Don't go very far, Josh.
I'll stay right here.
Next up on the agenda is to consider the 2023 Justice Assistance Grant. Please proceed.
The issue for the governing body is asked to consider the signing of the interlocal agreement between the city and Finney County from the Department of Justice Bureau of Assistance grant to close out the FY23 grant. This grant was awarded and accepted in March of 2024 for the purchase of emergency communications equipment upgrades, dispatch, in the amount of $14,395. This fiscal year 23 grant requires an interlocal agreement between the City of Garden City and Finney County. In the agreement, the county agrees to allow City of Garden City to retain the county's share of $7,197.50. The interlocal agreement must be signed by both parties to complete this award. If the agreement is not signed, the award funds will not be received. Alternatives for the governing body may approve the interlocal agreement and authorize the chairman to sign the agreement as presented. The governing body may deny the interlocal agreement as presented. And the recommendation is to approve the interlocal agreement as presented and authorize the chairman to sign the presented letter.
Questions from the commission? Hearing none. Madam Counselor, have you approved the proposed agreement?
I have.
Is it approved?
Yes, as to form.
Thank you. Motion?
I would move that we approve alternative number 1, approve the interlocal agreement and authorize the chairman to sign.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the interlocal agreement, alternative number 1. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
Next on our agenda is a proposal to approve the 2026 appraisal year consulting agreement with McCully and Associates. Please announce for the viewing public.
Darwin Martwick, interim appraiser. So today I want to just go over the agreement that we have with McCully and Associates. McCully and Associates provide a comprehensive support in property valuation processes, including depreciation studies, neighborhood analysis, land and income modeling, market modeling. They also assist in developing grade and CDU classifications to ensure that we keep on track with the PVD deadlines, and offer support in various special projects as needed. McCully and Associates are involved in training our new commercial appraiser. Also, background for McCully and Associates is they've worked with Finney County since approximately 1988, following the statewide reappraisal initiative. Currently, contract 18, that was an error in our part. It says 28, and it's really 18 counties within the state of Kansas, including neighboring Gray and Seward counties. Through their partnership, Finney County has access to Kansas Analytics, a powerful tool for researching sales and property values across the state with no additional cost. In addition, McCully and Associates provide an in-office training in range topics, including data collection, sales ratio analysis, and support to development of ongoing staff development and appraisal accuracy. In fact, they were just here on May the 12th, and we did have a sales, kind of the importance of sales, especially for our new individuals that are in our office. Alternatives, if we do not approve, the department will need to hire additional staff to perform the necessary analysis, in addition filling further vacancies that we currently have right now. Alternative training will be needed to be provided by PVD. If they were to come one-on-one actually to Finney County and actually train us, it would be additional cost to us as well. Recommendations that we would sign the contract. The contract is in our budget for 25 and 26 under professional services. Are there any other questions?
Commissioners? I don't have any, and does anyone? All right, very good. I would just like to state publicly that our appraiser's office has received approval letters each year from PVD with regard to this subject, and the consultants are integral in being able to perform at such a high level. Commissioners, is there a motion to approve the agreement?
I would so move that we would approve the agreement.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Council, have you had a chance to review the agreement?
I did this morning. I believe it's the same as it's been in previous years.
Correct, and for the same amount. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'll sign. Everybody signs.
Oh.
We'll get some book work done, and then we'll get to the auditors. you approve? Very good. Next on our agenda is to hear from the auditors with regard to the 2024 audit presentation by Lewis Hooper and Dick and Teresa Dazenbrock, the principal lead auditor, as well as assisting in the audit, Kristen Sakovic. Ladies?
I'm Teresa Dazenbrock. I think most of you are acquainted with me. Kristen. Kristen's going to go over the detail of the audit and the slides. I just wanted to preliminarily remind you all, you should have, if you haven't received a bound copy of the audit report, I know it's posted out on the county's website already. I would encourage you to look through it. Kristen's going to talk about the audit report itself. But when you get into the notes to the financial statements, and those start on page 9, they'll give you a good understanding of how the financial statements are put together and the basis of accounting that's used here at the county for the financials. Page 10 and 11 define what the different funds are that are used in the basis of accounting here. And those are then further detailed, and each individual fund under those different types are explained back in the supplemental information as you get into each of the individual fund statements. So you've got your general operating, which can be used for anything in the county. It's the general fund. Special purpose funds, some of those are operating funds, but they're specified and can only be used for those purposes. Grant funds, some of your reserve funds, those all fall in the special purpose area. Then you have business funds, capital project funds, which are designated funds that you've said, okay, we've got a project in process, this is how we're going to account for it. Bond and interest, trust funds. In your financial statements are also some of the related municipal entities of the county. You help fund those. They're to provide benefits for the county, but you don't do the actual management of those funds. So CVB, the library, for example. And then there's the agency funds. These are basically flow-through funds that you collect, you pay them out. So your tax collection funds, some of your payroll withholding funds and such. So the notes they can be boring. They'll put you to sleep if you need some reading material some night, but they do give you a good overview of how your financial statements go together. So I'd encourage you to take some time, maybe when you have an opportunity, and look through those. Kristen's going to run through the highlights, though, of the audit report here. So,
And just a note, commissioners, your bound copies are on their way up. They didn't make them up here this morning, so they're on.
Well, it is available online. Yes, it is. I'm looking at it.
Okay, so like Teresa said, I'm gonna go through a summary of the audit and then also hit some comparison graphs as you guys are starting to work through your budget process. So the auditor's report will be on pages 1 through 3 at the beginning. There was an unmodified auditor's report on the regulatory basis financial statement. And there was also no material weaknesses noted this year during the audit, and then also no question costs on the federal programs. Statement 1 is on pages 6 and 7. This is the summary statement of receipts, expenditures, and unencumbered cash for the county. So it lists all of the funds of the county included in the groups that Teresa just went over. I didn't mention that's on pages 6 and 7. So overall, the cash balance of the county at the end of the year was a little over $65 million. And this balance increased from the prior year by $2.8 million. Some of that increase was in the general fund. The general fund itself was up $661,000. However, the general fund is the main operating fund of the county. However, there are also several other operating funds, such as the health department, EMS, ambulance, law enforcement. Overall, all of those operating funds as a whole were down this year, $465,000. Your restricted funds, which are for a specific purpose, those funds were also down $477,000. However, your reserve funds were up $3.7 million, and this was planned in order for to help pay for the projects you guys have coming up, such as the EMS building. On the next slide, we have your total cash balance of all the county funds over the past 10 years. So as you can see, in 2015, your cash balance was almost $36 million and is at $65 million in 2024. So this shows how the county has grown and the funds needed to operate the county, as well as 2020 through 2022. You guys received COVID grants such as Spark and ARPA. Those funds helped increase that cash balance to help pay for projects that you guys had been putting off. And then in 2023, the cash balance increased with your employee benefit fund increase. You had to make sure you had enough funding in there for your stop loss, as well as preparing for funding the KPNF. And then in 2024, up slightly with your increase for your reserve funds. So like Teresa mentioned, some of this cash balance is restricted and can't be used for the general operations of the county. The next slide has your cash balance broke down by the different types. So the bottom line at the very bottom, the gray one, that's for your related municipal entities. So like Teresa mentioned, the CVB and the library. The red line is next, and that's your restricted fund balance, and that's where all of your grant funding would go, and any other funds that are restricted, such as aging, your guest tax fund. So as you can see, that line was going up in 2020 through 2022 with your increased grants for the COVID money, and then back down in 2024. The blue line is your reserve fund balance, such as things like your capital outlay, equipment reserve, infrastructure improvement. And then the green line is your operating funds of the county. So some of the larger ones is your general funds, the health department, law enforcement, and public works. So as the cash balance started to increase in 2020, 2021, in part due to the COVID money you received, like I mentioned, and then also the tax lid going into place. But that increased cash balance, the county was able to start to catch up on some of your repairs and replacements that were needed throughout the county. And then now the county is starting to move more towards, like you guys know, working through the budget process, trying to help fund some of those projects with county money, as the county is unable to go to a bank and get a line of credit when you guys are needing to do repairs. This next slide goes over the receipts of your operating funds, so all the operating funds of the county. Overall, the receipts in all of these funds were up in 2024. The largest, at the bottom, you can see your general fund, your general fund. And then next is your law enforcement, road and bridge, and then the employee benefit are your four largest. The employee benefit fund, the receipts though were down for 2024, and that was just due to you guys increasing the tax money going into employee benefit fund last year for KPNF, and then reallocating that tax money back to your other operating funds for 2024. This next slide is the receipts for just the general fund. So as you can see, your taxes make up the largest portion, which is further broken down on the next slide. And then the next highest is your use of money and property. And this is where your interest income would go. Overall, your interest income that the county earned was $989,000 for 2024. And then the next category, transfers in, is at 2%, and this is the normal percentage that it is, as it's just the motor vehicle cash balance that's transferred to the general fund each year. However, last year, that percent was at 13%. And that was due to being able to transfer some of that ARPA money out to the general fund to help pay for other projects of the county. So this next slide breaks down your tax receipts of the general fund. As you can see, ad valorem's the highest. This dollar amount was up this year. However, it's due to reallocating, like I said, that tax money from the employee benefit fund back into your general fund. And then your local sales tax money is the next highest. Percentage-wise, as a whole, it was down this year. However, the dollars stayed about the same, which we'll see on a graph in a few slides. So this next slide is the expenditures of the general fund. As you can see, the general government makes up about 48% of your total expenditures. However, included in that category is your HR department, treasurer, clerk, elections, road, register of deeds, appraiser, any of your building maintenance. And overall, those departments only went up $137,000 in expenses this year compared to the prior year. And then the next highest category is your transfers out. So that's any of your remaining cash balance at the end of the year that you're able to transfer out to your reserve funds. And this year, out of the general fund, the transfers were up $2 million, and that was to help fund the EMS building. This next slide shows the debt of the county, which is also on page 17 in your financial statement. So overall, the county has general obligation bonds at $590,000, and this is for your sewer district number 3, which matures in 2042. And then for your finance leases, those are at $4.9 million. You have 3 different leases included in that, with the largest being the HVAC system at 4.1, so that takes up the majority of that balance. Total long-term debt for Finney County at the end of 2024 was $5.5 million. The next several slides incorporate both the financial statement audit as well as the budget, as you guys are working through your budget process. These slides that we're showing here only go through the audit year of 2024. However, when we come in to work through the budget process, we'll also have 2025 and 2026 included. So this first slide is on the valuation. At the bottom in the purple is your real estate valuation. And as you can see, there's been steady increases over the past 10 years. The next in yellow is your personal property, and then oil and gas, which has shown some improvement the last 3 years. However, it's still not to the size it was in 2015. And then the last blue is your state assessed. This next slide is your mill levy comparison. So this is the total mill levy for the county over the last 10 years. As you can see, it's steadily gone up, the lowest in 2015 at 38.8. However, your high was in 2022 at 49.9, and it has come back down the last 2 years. And in 2024 was at 47.3. So overall, the 10-year average of your mill levy is at 46.092 mills, which is slightly below your 2018 level. So as we talked about earlier, your 2 largest areas of receipts are your tax collections and then sales tax. So this graph shows your tax receipts overall for the county for the last 10 years. 2015, you were at 20.6 million, and then in 2024, you're at 27.8. The 10-year average out of those tax receipts is 23 million. And then like we mentioned earlier, some of your largest levying funds are your general fund, your employee benefits, public works, ambulance, county health, law enforcement. And then this next slide is your sales tax receipts. Steadily going up. It did come down in 2017 some. And then 2020, there was a small dip when the horse thief came off. Before this year, the last 3 years, collections had exceeded the trend line. 2022 is probably unusually high. You guys had an unusual tax receipt collection in February 2022. So otherwise, the last 4 years should look like steady, small increases. So these next few slides have some comparisons between Finney County and your surrounding counties. So the first one's on population, where you have Reno County at the top, and then Finney, Ford, Ellis, Barton, and Seward. And as you can see, the last 10 years, the population really hasn't fluctuated a whole lot between those 6 counties. The next graph is on your assessed tangible valuation, and this doesn't include any TIF or RHID in these numbers. And normally the valuation of your county kind of looks like your population. So all of these should be in the same order except for Ellis and Ford, which are flipped. So this next slide shows the total county levy. And so this is just the levy that the county is doing. You have Finney County is the highest at 47.37. And then Ford, Seward, and then at the bottom you have Ellis, Barton, and Reno, which are all pretty close. Reno being the lowest at 35.5. However, all entities within a county sometimes levy their taxes different. So really you have to look at all the taxing units within a county to determine total county levy. So this next slide should help to show more apples to apples on what's being levied within a county. So this is the total mills levied in a city by all taxing units. So now you have Liberal at the highest at 180, and then Hayes is the lowest at 119. However, to point out, Hayes is the only city in these cities we've selected that doesn't have a community college. And normally community college is average around 24 and a half mils. So although the county was the highest in this group, this 2024, which is presented, a Garden City resident did have the lowest mill when looking across all taxing units, except for Hayes, prior to this year. And in this 2024 year, the city was flat, the county was flat in their mill levy. However, the college and the school district had both increased their mills. So these last few remaining slides go through the letters that we have included with your financial statement. The first one is the letter to the governing body. So this letter just goes through our audit process. There hasn't been any changes from the past. However, we point out what our responsibility as auditors are versus your responsibility as management. We point out any significant risks that we're aware of during the audit. And those that we have pointed out in the letter are those risks that we have to be aware of for auditing standards. So it's nothing specific for the county. We let you know there were no changes in accounting policies. You don't have any estimates included in your financial statement. And then the financial statement disclosures are those that deal with compliance with Kansas statutes. We also let you know there are no unusual transactions in your financial statement, no difficulties dealing with management during the audit process, no disagreements with management. And then at the back of the letter is the representation letter, which is signed by the interim administrator, clerk, and treasurer. And then the last letter that we have included with the financial statement is the management letter. So the first few pages is the cover letter, which goes through what a material weakness is, what a significant deficiency would be. And we want to point out we had none of those that we noted during the audit, so this was a very good audit. The county does a good job making sure controls are in place, approvals are in place. Those things we have mentioned are just best practice suggestions. So things to stay on top of so you don't have material weaknesses in the future. So that concludes our presentation. We have gone over the audit in detail with the audit committee and any of those involved, like with the management letter. We have talked to any department heads that we've had management comments with. But if you guys have any questions, or if you have questions as you read through the financial statement and letters, you can give either Teresa or I a call.
I do have one question.
Please proceed.
You said the normal community college levies 24 to 24.
That's the average.
Is that nationwide or in the state of Kansas?
Those are just the ones that we looked at surrounding, the local ones. So we had the low for those community colleges was 21.8, and then the high was at 34.7. So, and Garden City Community College is at 29.
Thank you.
Other questions for the auditors? All right. I do want to take a moment to look at page 4 of the letter to the commissioners dated May 15th. Things that we need to work on, so to speak. And I'll start with the grants, which was a clean bill of health on accounting on the grants. Agency and department controls was good. For the third year in a row, we have a note with regard to the county attorney's distribution of diversion fees. Have you had an opportunity to discuss this audit note with the county attorney?
We have discussed it as part of the audit process. Recently, no, we haven't brought it up again.
Okay, there's a couple cleanups, both sheriff and county attorney on outstanding checks. I'm sure the administrator and the auditors can clean that up. You have some notes with regard to CVB. And in response to your notes, we did receive information from CVB. I'd like to make sure you understand that we did follow up with that. The other Fair Board, Law Library, and Sheriff's Bonds issues were addressed by the administration, and we'll continue to look at compliance issues for those 3 areas. Commissioners, do you have any other questions for the auditors? I will say that I've only been here 3 years, and I wish Commissioner Jones was here to give you his 12, 14 years of, or 15, I guess, of going through this process. And before you leave, I would just like to say thank you to Teresa for all the years that you've been the lead auditor in this case. And I understand, Kristen, that next year you'll be the lead auditor. And there's always a changing of the guard, but in this respect, Teresa, thank you for all your years of service. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to work with the commissioners over the years. And you will see us again on the 23rd, I believe it is, when we're here to do the budget workshop. So if you have questions on the audit at that point too, we'll have it with us and be happy to address them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, thank you. Next up on our business agenda is the KDOT agreement for the Northwest Industrial Park. We'll hear from Mackenzie Phillips.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Mackenzie Phillips, Development and Administrative Coordinator. So this morning, the Board of County Commissioners is asked to consider and approve the Economic Development Program and Agreement with the Kansas Department of Transportation for the Northwest Industrial Park Improvement Project. So as many of you are aware, Finney County has been awarded $2 million in funds through KDOT's Economic Development Program for construction costs related to transportation improvements associated with the Northwest Industrial Park Improvement Project. The improvements to the Northwest Industrial Park include the relocation of the intersection of Solar Avenue in Ackerway, realignment of Solar Avenue, converting Solar Avenue into a one-way road, reconstruction of Ackerway, and the construction of a new road from US Highway 83 to the future truck wash, existing TA travel stop, and the existing RV park. So the funding awarded by KDOT is used for construction costs only. So the county and the partnering stakeholders will be responsible for any costs for preliminary engineering, construction engineering, and then any of the construction costs that go over the $2 million that has been provided by KDOT. So the alternatives before you this morning are the Board of County Commissioners may approve and sign the Economic Development Program Agreement with KDOT for the Northwest Industrial Park Improvement Project. Or the Board of County Commissioners may not approve and sign the Economic Development Program Agreement with KDOT. And staff recommends alternative 1 to approve and sign the agreement with KDOT.
Any questions from the commission?
Do you have any anticipated costs that will go over 2 million?
Yes, there is anticipated cost to go over the 2 million. I believe we have our engineers here if you want to have them go over the cost a little bit, but it will go over the 2 million.
Well, maybe if you could just let us know if you have any idea what percentage of that could be the responsibility of the county of those overage costs.
The percentage that the county is responsible for is 18, a third of the cost.
Okay.
I think, Commissioner, one of the things that we're doing with our stakeholders in the area is part of their development agreement is to pay a proportionate share of the overage.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That the county's picking up a third.
Yes.
And that overage, Mr. Meager, I think is right now anticipated somewhere around 900,000 to $1 million.
I believe that's correct. I think that when we calculated it, the county portion right now is probably somewhere around 425,000. But the bids haven't come in, and if the bids come in more favorable, which we think they could, that would lessen that amount.
Mm-hmm.
And the participating stakeholders in that does not include Bruckner's, correct?
Correct.
Also, Mr. Administrator, we have some available funds through participation with the city to utilize to pay some of the cost of the county share through an economic development fund.
That's correct, Chairman. There is a fund called the Economic Development Incentive Fund. This is a fund that has been in place for several years, and at one point, the city and the county were putting money into that fund for situations kind of like this to help spur and cover some unexpected growth that might occur. There's some expenses that might occur. In this particular case, the fund, there hasn't been money put into the fund for a while, but there is about 900 and some thousand that is in that fund. And so I've reached out to the city to see if they would have any problem if we utilize some of that money or use that money for the county's share of this project. They gave a favorable response to that, so we could use that money.
When would we determine an agreement or consensus agreement with the city on the utilization of that fund to cover these excess costs?
They've already given me that permission. They've already taken action to.
All right. Is that going to go before their commission shortly, or?
It already has.
Already has.
Yes.
And is it all of the overage amount, or is it a percentage of the overage?
No, it'll be the entire amount that the county is responsible for, up to $425,000.
Well, that's considerable work between the two entities, and I really appreciate your efforts there. I hope that answers your question.
It does.
as to
Thank
how
you.
we're gonna cover the cost of the overages. Any other questions for Mackenzie about the state grant contract documents? I assume, Madam Counselor, you reviewed these?
I have and have approved them.
All
to form.
Very good. Any other questions for Mackenzie? Council, commissioners, is there a motion?
I would like to make a motion that we approve alternative one to approve and sign the Economic Development Program Agreement with KDOT.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the program agreement with KDOT as presented. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next on our agenda is the HRRR programming request. Don't go very far, Mackenzie. Consider us to tell us what we need to do with regarding to the programming request for the 2027 high-risk rural road. Say that a lot of times.
Yes. So this morning, the Board of County Commissioners is asked to consider and approve the programming request for the federal fiscal year 2027 high-risk rural road local project located on Old 83, also referenced as the HRRR project. So this was presented to you last month, so I'm not going to go over read the whole background. Just to remind you, we did receive $600,000 in funds. This project also, the state covers 90% of the costs related to construction and construction engineering. The county is responsible for all the costs related to preliminary engineering, and then 10% of the construction and construction engineering costs. So this project includes centerline rumble strips, retroreflective centerline painting markers on the existing paved road, 18-inch aggregate shoulders, installing curb signage with retroreflective strips, and flattening and widening of 4 slopes. So this project is going to be very similar to what we did on VFW Road. If you've gone out there and taken a look, it's going to have the centerline rumble strips like that are out there. It's also going to have the similar aggregate shoulders on the side. It's not going to have the lighted stop signs, but it's going to have other retroreflective signs to indicate the curves coming up. So I wanted to go over a little bit more information related to last meeting we went over. I mentioned the local road safety plan that was adopted by the county back in 2020. So if you can pull up page 136. It's pretty far down. And if you have a way to rotate it. Well, while they figure that out, this is a heat map that was a part of the local road safety plan that identifies, it uses the crash data at that time to show where majority of the crashes have happened. So you see that the biggest heat area really is between City of Garden City and Holcomb. There's a few intersections there that we need to do more studies on in order to identify what is really needed. So that's part of the reason why we haven't applied for an HRRR project in those areas. And we identified Old 83. You can see there's several crashes that were identified along Old 83 there to the south. The HRRR project only covers a certain amount of types of projects. So it doesn't cover like normal maintenance, like a mill and overlay or like rebuilding a road. It covers things that are going to improve the safety of the road. So enhancements, it's not going to have the new construction of a road necessarily. So that's why we've identified certain things like rumble strips. There's other projects that you could do like a traffic circle or improving signage. So those are the things that qualify under this specific program. One of the reasons why we did identify this road is that it did just go over. We just did a mill and overlay, so a nice new surface on that road. We want to continue to make sure that that road is well maintained and improve the safety for the people that are traveling on that road. We do have coming up that you'll see probably this year, several smaller residential developments that are slated to go along Old 83. We've had over the years more development happening along this road. There might not be as many crashes as some of the other areas that you've seen, but we want to keep it that way. We want to make sure that the people traveling on this road are safe. And with the amount of truck traffic, semi-truck traffic that we have going up and down this road, we really want to make sure that the new residents that are going to be traveling on that road are continuing to be safe. So I have here today our engineers from Kirk and Michael to talk about, I know that there were questions about the rumble strips the last time, and if it's going to hurt the integrity of the road, what it does to improve the safety. So they're here to talk about that and then answer any other questions. Kenneth Jones, Kaylee Jones, our Public Works Operations Manager, is also here to talk about some of the reasons, go into more specifics about some of the reasons why we chose this project versus some of the other projects in the county. So I'll let C.W. Harper and John Riggins come up here and talk with you.
All right, thank you.
Good morning, I'm John Riggins with Kirk and Michael. I'm one of your acting county engineers. This is C.W. Harper, also with Kirk and Michael. He's the other half or other part of the acting county engineer that we both provide services. As far as the HRRR, a high-risk road project that's in question, the centerline rumble strips, Mackenzie did say that there was some concerns about that and how they affect the lifespan of the pavement and the like. I don't think that there's any way a person could claim it does not negatively affect the pavement. I mean, it does take a little bit of the seal off, and it's usually over a joint on the center line, and that can lead to some premature failures, or failures sooner than it would be if there were no rumble strips and everything was sealed up as it was when it was the day it was paved. But I guess the thing that I see on it is that it's the safety issue. One of the safety factors, and we were involved in the local road safety plans out here in District 6, and adding rumble strips to the roads are one of the highest ways to, or they have a safety rating they assign to each different thing, of flattening floor slopes or widening the roadway, adding the rumble strips, pavement marking, signing, all the different potential countermeasures. And the rumble strips is one of the highest safety factors that you could improve the utilize to improve the safety on the existing roadways. As you can see on your heat map there, those two red stars, I'll call them, the K and A, those are killed in disabling injury crashes. So although there's not a whole lot of crashes on this section of roadway, there's 2 of the 4 that were in the county in the 5-year period that were on old 83. So safety, there is some serious accidents that have happened out there in the past few years. The other portion of the project is the aggregate shoulder. As Mackenzie mentioned, there is a recent overlay on it. The edge, what they call is when the pavement drops off to the shoulder from the asphalt to the soil or the aggregate, it's called an edge drop. That is one of an issue with its affects safety. KDOT, their stance, that's where I used to work 15 years ago, but when I was there, it was anything with an edge drop of 4 inches or more was an immediate emergency project. The issue is people drop a tire off and then they are not able to re-enter the roadway. They crank their wheels hard, and then depending on if they are at adequate speed, it causes rollover crashes or them to cross back across the highway into oncoming traffic. So the aggregate shoulder would also provide a easier re-entry onto the highway for the people that did drop a wheel off the pavement. The additional high-intensity signing and retroreflective strips would be, again, just make the signs more visible in the both day and nighttime driving. I definitely am a proponent of this project. I feel that the additional safety, the increased safety of the traveling public far outweighs the potential negative effect of the rumble strips on the center line. Nothing else really is changing. I mean, I don't see any of the other things having any type of adverse effect to the pavement or the roadway itself. Do you guys have any questions for it?
Questions from the commissioners? I just have a comment. This is a 90-10 project, it appears to me, and $56,000 of local money creates the opportunity to enhance several miles of paved roadway at the federal expense, and I think it's a minimal cost for a maximum benefit. That's my 10 cents worth. Any other questions for the engineers?
I think the total is 121,000. Is that correct?
As I understood
Would
it,
be
it's
responsible.
That you'd be responsible for 100% of the preliminary engineering costs, which I think on the application were estimated at 55,000 total. On the application was applied, it was proposed 90% KDOT or the funding and 10% for preliminary engineering. KDOT awarded the total amount, but they have since confirmed that preliminary engineering is not participating, so that'd be 100% on the county. So it'd be the local share listed on the application plus the design costs, which is estimated at 55,000. Nothing has been done as far as the actual design agreement or selecting of an engineer or anything like that at this time, so we don't know what exact cost.
all right, thank you. We'll hear from Mackenzie again, please. Mackenzie, if I've read this hot map correctly, we have K&A crash. What does K&A stand for?
That was what John Riggins was telling us. It's kill and disabled, right? Disabling injuries. Yeah.
And I see along that road 2 of those type of accidents, as well as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 accidents. And what's the time frame of this hotness?
It would have been the past 5 years prior to this study, so that would have been like 2025 to 2020.
It's the chair's prerogative to note that we heard from taxpayer last week about Jenny Barker Road going north. It appears to me that there were 2 intersection accidents in the last 5 years on that road, correct?
Prior to 2020, it looks like, yes.
Total. Both of them intersection accidents, and none of those accidents had anything to do with road condition.
That I couldn't tell you if it was due to
They were
road
intersection
condition.
accidents.
Yes, they were intersection accidents. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mackenzie?
I don't know if I have a question, but I just wanted to state that, a couple of things that we had talked about was the Jenny Barker Road, and honestly, this is not a program that would benefit that road. This is not what they need up there. These are safety features, and for minimal cost to the county, we're getting some significant benefit. So I don't think that, I just want the public, I guess, to understand that that's why we're doing this road. It really fits well into this particular program. And it's interesting that the thing that people like the least is the one that saves the most lives. So that was, and that, I know that had been one of our thoughts before about the rumble strips, but apparently those are pretty significant in safety concerns.
Yes. And if you don't mind, can I make one more comment? Yes. So I do want to let you know that there were a total of 29 applications statewide for this program. The state only funded 11 projects, and Finney County was one of them. If Finney County decides to not accept the money this year, we are probably, we'll go to the bottom of the pot for like the next possibly 2 years. And we didn't receive funding last year. So this is a program that we possibly could not participate in for like the next 4 years or next 3 years.
Mackenzie, in another way, to be more clear, is that it's a very positive thing for us to participate for future possibilities of.
Correct.
Is that the best way to say it?
Yes.
All right. Any other discussion, commissioners? Motion, sir?
I make the motion for alternative 1 that we sign the agreement with for the funding.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the programming for fiscal year. I'm going to do it this way. The HRRR
Yes.
road project, so I don't show off my speech impediment again. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Did everybody vote?
Aye. I'm sorry.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next on our business agenda is to hear from Kelly Munyon, Human Resources Director, with regard to classification and compensation study contract. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kelly Munyon, Human Resources. So this morning, the board's just being asked to approve the contract draft and authorize the board chair or interim county administrator to sign the contract for McGrath Human Resource Group to be able to begin the compensation study. This compensation study was outlined to have about a 6-month time frame for completion. So on May 19th, the board approved the recommendation of the selection committee to accept McGrath Human Resource Group as the firm to conduct our 2025 compensation study. I have reviewed the contract for consistency with the proposal. I did find one small discrepancy that was fixed with Dr. McGrath, and then it was provided to County Counselor and the County Administrator for review. Alternatives before you this morning are to approve the contract as presented and authorize the board chair or interim county administrator to sign, or decline the contract as presented and direct staff to represent at a later date with specified changes. Staff's recommendation is option 1, approve the contract as presented and authorize the board chair or interim county administrator to sign. The fiscal impact is approximately $71,950. This was based off approximately 70 job descriptions, so that could increase or decrease either way based off positions being added or removed. There will be, at the end of the study, a policy impact, as there will be a new compensation policy put into place with a new pay scale and new processes.
Could be put in. Yeah. All right. The cost of this project is a general fund expenditure?
Yes, sir.
And there's adequate funds to do that? Yes. Since our auditors were just here, we just did the cash basis and budget basis question. Thank you. Questions for Kelly on this project? All right, and the contract's been approved, Madam Counselor?
Yes, as to form.
Thank you. Motion?
Mr. Chair, I would recommend that we approve the contract as presented and authorize the board chair to sign the contract.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the contract as an alternative number 1 at a cost of estimated now at $71,950, and it may be more or less depending on the number of positions to be reviewed.
Yes, sir.
Is there any further discussion? Yes.
I just wonder, would you authorize the administrator to sign that since we don't have the final copy yet?
Well, we'll go back and ask the commissioner that. Is there a purpose for that, as the chair wouldn't sign it, or what?
Well, I don't know if we'll have it today, so
I'll be available.
just in order to get it in quickly. Just wanted to mention it.
I'll ask Commissioner Oots, is it?
I'll amend my motion for the approval as presented and authorize the county administrator, the interim county administrator to sign.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded as amended to allow the administrator to sign with an impact of $71,950 plus or minus depending on the number of positions being reviewed. Is there any further discussion on the motion as amended? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break and we'll convene at 10 till 10. Thank you. the next item on our agenda is to have staff reports. Mackenzie?
Good morning again, Chairman and Commissioners. Mackenzie Phillips, Development and Administrative Coordinator. I only have one update for you this morning. So just so you're aware, we might have a possible new RHID coming before you that's located on Old 83. It's going to be a residential development that's has about 8 residential properties with the potential to expand on in the future. They're going back and forth on whether they want to do them as private roads or a private road, or if they want it to be a public road. So we're in talks with them right now on what it takes to go through the RHID process. So that might be coming before you here in the near future. So,
Okay.
any questions for me?
Yes. On your map of the Northwest Corridor, I know there's recent developments there. Next session, let's try to have a more updated map with regard to that phase 2 and 3.
Can you go to the second one, please, Sam? Okay, yeah, there's construction happening on that intersection of Chloe and Kenzie, so we can get an updated map for you next time.
That'd be really appreciated.
Okay,
Anything for Mackenzie?
thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Administrator?
Yes, sir. I just want to mention a few things. First of all, we met with the Raptilus with regard to the organization review. We had an initial meeting, and we're in the process of providing them with information, and we'll keep you posted on the progress on that particular project. The insurance proposals are in. I've distributed those to the insurance committee to review. We'll meet with the representatives of K-Camp and our broker this week and have something back to you soon for the commission to review. I do want to make you aware that you've been invited to a ribbon cutting at the Bob Halloran Park tomorrow at 11:45. And so if you want to put that on your calendar. And then the city or county administrator search should be posted either today or sometime this week, the job announcements for that position.
Okay, tomorrow's park dedication, where is that park at?
It's over
In order.
south of Spruce by VO.
Near Victor and Alice School.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to know where to go. Anything else?
No, sir.
11:45. All right. Board governance, Madam Clerk?
Nothing specific to call out there.
All right. Any additions or deletions to the upcoming meetings and calendar, Commissioners? All right, we'll hold off on Commissioners' reports until after the executive sessions. Madam Counselor, is there a need for an executive session?
There is.
And I note that our agenda has 3 of those, and I'm advised by the clerk that we should take those up individually. And so the first executive session is for attorney-client privilege. Would you identify the persons that should be present?
For the first session that we're going to have, we will need the interim county administrator, the county attorney, Susan Richmeyer, the sheriff, Steve Martinez, myself, and the board.
Is there a motion for and the length of time?
20 minutes.
Is there a motion for an executive session as suggested by the county counselor?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to have an executive session with the county attorney, the sheriff, county counselor, and the administrator for a period of 20 minutes. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Will be an executive session, and we'll reconvene in 20 minutes. Motion to go out of executive session.
So move.
Moved and seconded to go out of executive session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'll confirm that no action was taken. Madam Counselor, is there a need for an additional executive session under the attorney-client privilege?
There is.
And who are the persons that need to attend and the amount of time involved?
For this one, it'll be the interim county administrator, myself, the treasurer, Trista Joy, and the board, obviously. And then we'll need, I think, 10 minutes.
Motion to go to executive session with the treasurer, counselor, and administrator for a period of 10 minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded to the executive session as stated in the motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll be back in 10 minutes. Is there a motion to go out of executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to go out of executive session. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'll confirm that no action was taken. Is there a motion to authorize the county councilor and the administrator to negotiate with the city, the school district and the YMCA for a resolution of tax matters with regard to the dome?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to authorize the county councilor and administrator to continue that negotiation. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Counselor, is there a need for another attorney-client consultation executive session?
There is. For this one, it will need the interim county administrator, myself, and the board. I'm going to say this one's probably going to take 30 minutes.
All right, is there such a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded for executive session with the administrator and the county councilor for a period of 20 minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We're in executive session, 20 minutes. Time now, 10:30. 30. How many? motion to go out of executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to go out of executive session. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're back in regular session. We didn't complete our work in the executive session. Is there a need to extend the prior executive session for 20 minutes?
I would move that we extend the prior session for 20 minutes, including the same people.
Second.
Moved and seconded to extend the executive session with the same people. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're in executive session. We'll be back.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to go into regular session. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'll confirm that no action was taken. The last executive session that we have is for non-elected personnel. Madam Counselor, what do we need and who?
We're going to need the board, myself, the interim county administrator, and HR Kelly Munyon, and we'll need 20 minutes for this one. It's my understanding that maybe we need a short break before we go into that 20 minutes, though.
We'll start at 11:30 for 20 minutes. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved. Oh, second.
Moved and seconded to go into executive session as explained by the counselor with the persons identified. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll convene at 11:30.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to go back in regular session. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Back in regular session, I will affirm that no action was taken. The last thing on our agenda is commissioners' reports, and with the consent of the commission, we will give those reports on the 16th of June due to the lateness of the hour and the opportunity to meet with all the department heads and electeds in our work session
I
following.
would like to report one thing simply because it occurs before June 16th.
Please.
I have signed up through Kelly for the KCHRA, whatever that is, Human Resources, Kansas County Human Resources Conference that is happening in Salina, like really close. And I would just like to encourage, it's a supervisor training, couple of different sessions, and I'd just like to encourage our supervisors, anybody that might be interested to do that. It's affordable and it's close. June 12th. That's it.
Any action needed from the commission?
Nope.
Okay, very good. So everyone's informed, our interim administrator will be gone on Friday with pay, well-deserved time away for personal reasons. So he'll be out of the office on Friday. Any other business before the commission? If not, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned, and we will take up our work session right now.